Yeah, well, that's why I put a reminder on this first page. So, okay, now. Okay, it says it's recording.
It's showing.
Yeah, let me make sure it's. Okay, well, hope it is. All right, welcome everyone. Oh, good. Florence changed her name. We have a first and last name now. That's great. Al and Bob, if you can look over the list, or anybody else see, make sure we have first and last names from everyone on there. And I'll tell our monitors when we do this, when we close the thing, I'm on there twice. Don't count Ken's iPad monitor as my second entry. I only get one entry. I'm not trying to seed the thing.
We're not going to let that happen.
No, I think there's 42 people that, well, 41 people that won't let that happen. All right, well, good evening. Welcome to another one of our ongoing Zoom meetings. I will be recording this, and hopefully sometime overnight it'll get uploaded to YouTube. Bob has sent out the link for YouTube before. All the videos that I do from here are on the MacNexus email YouTube site. So they're up there, and you can always go back on them. The other thing is, I'll talk about it now, but then when I start the presentation, a little different than usual. As we go through each step on what I'm doing in iPhone Back to Basics, I will wait, and it's going to be more like a hands-on. So we're going to make sure you go through each piece and get it. There is one spot where it might get a little difficult, and if somebody doesn't get through it, we'll carry it over to the end. So I have just two things, but then Al's got some current news for us. Three things actually. Apple, of course, it continues to break its stock record, and it's over a $2 trillion company now, well on its way to a $3 trillion company by market cap. And the stock price is at an all-time high, and they're about ready to do a 4-to-1 stock split. So at the current rate, Apple closed today at
506.
506, yeah. So that puts it at about 250, 125. So everybody, all of a sudden, if you have Apple shares, you'll all of a sudden have 4 times as many shares, but the price would be, in this case, $125. So your value is still the same. The idea is that way smaller investors can get in, and part of that is because the inclusion in the Dow and things, it's overweighted because it's getting too expensive. I have to say too, if anybody's been lucky enough to invest in Tesla, it's just gone through the roof. It announced a 5-for-1 stock split, and one day alone, it went up $188, which is just phenomenal. So the other thing is, I was reading an article, and it was iPhone shipments remain stable in a submerged economy. And iPhone shipments in the last quarter, which remember the Apple stores weren't open, so Apple performed very well, and they actually had an increase. They increased the market share from 10.4% in 2019 to 13% this year. So they had a 2.6 increase in market share, which is just phenomenal. They did year over year, they had a slight dip in iPhone sales, and part of that is because but the whole industry had a 20-point decline, and they actually think that it's this fall or in October when the 5G version of the phone comes out, it's going to be crazy. But you can look at the other large cell phone or smartphone provider. Samsung fell 27% year over year, and that's pretty substantial, as did most of the other ones, the ones that are in China, Oppo, which is an Asian one, Huawei, and who was the other one? Oh, and Xiaomi. So that bodes pretty well. And then there's an article I just started reading, I haven't really gotten to the crux of it, but it's on Cult of Mac, and it says, why Bill Gates says he was so jealous of Steve Jobs. So that's kind of interesting, and I think I'll dig in deeper on that.
A good
So,
article.
Al, you've got some links for us and some
Yeah, some
news and current event things.
Yeah, yeah. Can I share my screen now?
Yeah, let me unshare mine. Go for it, Al. And I'll spotlight your video. There you go. Share screen, share in the lower right. Fantastic. Uh-oh, I stole your thunder there, sorry.
Oops. Can I try to give it another shot here?
Yeah, go for it again. I don't know what happened.
Oops.
Are you trying to play a video?
No, no. Stop.
It's showing up.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
No.
it was up. You may not see it on yours.
Okay. Okay. I was hoping I'd see it, but yeah, if as long as you can see it, that's great.
Yeah, that's weird that you can't see it, but no, it's
Yeah.
not up now, so you need to share it again.
Okay. I've got like 3 screens here.
Yeah, there's a weird mode that Zoom does on that.
How's that?
I disabled dual monitor. No, but it was a minute ago. It was working fine. There you go. Here it comes. We got it.
Okay. Okay. Well, like Ken said, the big news of the week here is big time $2 trillion market cap. Make a lot of us happy, and it never gets old. And like Ken said, it's off and running to 3 trillion at one point. There is
And it was just 2 years ago that they passed 1 trillion.
yeah.
Almost to the day.
Love it, love it, love it. There's I posted a link, and most of these are on our MacNexus Facebook page. And there's an article from Apple Insider that follows the chronology of Apple splits. And one share it's Apple's split 5 times in its 40-year history. And if you purchased 1 share back in 1980, that would have cost you $22. Well, that share, after the splits, let's see, that you'd have, let's see, 224 shares. And at let's see, as of August, let's see, right now it would be north, that $22 would be north of $28,000. Nice little chunk of change for people who have held through all the difficulty and the ups and downs, and it goes through every chronology of every split and every time. It's pretty informative. So this link is in the chat there. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, instead of buying Apple stuff, we should have bought their stock, and then we could have lots of Apple stuff.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, absolutely. Another little tidbit here is Apple's extending their Apple Care purchase window, I guess, to 1 year. Currently, users have like 60 days from the purchase of an iPhone, Mac, or other device to add Apple Care Plus coverage. So, new folks who buy these, that's good to know. They're good to know that they have that much confidence in their products that it's a viable deal for them. So that's.
Yeah, the term is still the same. It's just they lessened when you could buy it. It used to be you could always buy it within the first year, and then they went away from that, and now they're back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another little, if you've been following any of this business with Epic's Fortnite, that's trying to alter the App Store purchasing model that they've got here. They've gone through pretty elaborate lengths, and they've been preparing for this for a long time. Renee Ritchie has a really good video on YouTube that kind of explains the nuances of it and some of the implications. And you know, it's pretty thorough. He does a good job of it. Renee Ritchie always has thoughtful commentary and always something to follow and stuff. If you're into knowing about the Apple universe, always very good.
He's fantastic. We hope to have him back soon.
Yeah, he's definitely fantastic. You know, if we could get him back at any point, you know, just for talk on any topic, that's always a good thing. Let's see, another little rumor mill here. Apple may extend free Apple TV subscriptions to new hardware purchasers. So we'll see. I think it's still rumor, but I'm not sure. I guess Bloomberg's reporting it, but.
Well, you know who's with Bloomberg now is Mark Gurman, who was always very good with the inside stuff from Apple. I don't know if he was the source for that, but man, that guy, know he has so many good connections. Yeah.
Looking forward to the iPhone 12 myself, and I know it's going to be a big super cycle, and I'm sure that's why part of the reason that the stock is doing so well. Pretty excited with all the 5G coming online. Maybe not right away for all of us in America, but for many of us who live in urban centers, you know, some of the infrastructure is getting built out, and so that really promising. Looking forward to that. Apple is now also offering some bundles here, CBS and Showtime. If you follow CBS All Access, it has stuff like Discovery and The Good Fight and a few other their offerings.
Oh, The Good Fight's a good show.
Yeah, Good Fight's it's a really good show. Pretty well rounded. I thought it's fun to watch. And Showtime, and you know, it's a little $9.99 TV bundle if you want to.
Which is actually half of what it is if you buy it through any other provider.
Yeah. I have Consolidated Communications, and I'm trying to. You know, I have all of these things. I'm just trying to see if it might be worth it to just, you know, jettison it from my cable provider and then maybe take it up on as a specific subscription. So I'm glad to see that they're doing it to give you know, folks more options, and I think it's what they're going to have to do going forward to make it compelling for people to subscribe and you know, to further enhance their services and stuff. It's you know, it's good. I found this little thing that I thought was kind of interesting. Apple TV Plus add some bonus augmented reality shows in 2021. And in the course of this article, they talk a little bit about the what's been rumored, the Apple Glass that they're developing. And I'm really interested to see, you know, if they're going to make original content that somehow incorporates some of this new Apple Glass 3D technology with this may be pretty interesting. You know, we won't probably see Apple Glass. They're speculating to, you know, potentially 2022. And it's no telling what the, you know, the COVID's impact on this as far as the research and development. But it's been in the rumor mill for a few years, and I'm sure they're just like they don't release anything until it's ready and compelling and stuff. So the fact that they can make compelling hardware and you know, they're also creating some of this content should be interesting. I'm really looking forward to see how they implement that. That should be a lot of fun. And if you, of course, we'll all, you know, we're waiting for the new releases of the hardware in September, October, whenever they do that there. For those of us who, you know, do some of the betas and stuff, they've recently released the sixth version of iOS 14, iPad OS 14, tvOS 14, and watchOS 7. So they're getting close. You know, they'll have a golden master here at some point, and they, you know, they'll, you know, if they're going to release sometime in September, October, they've got to be manufacturing some of these things if they're not already. So,
well, and the indications are, while the iPhone has probably been delayed till October, the new iPads and the new watches, hardware-wise, are due out in early mid-September, that's when we'd also start to see iOS 14 roll out.
Yeah, very excited. I love my Apple Watch 5, but you know, I'm willing to trade it in if they got something compelling. You know, so
Yeah.
every year they've made something interesting and stuff. So again, I'm looking here at what their stock settled in at today at $506.09. So hooray for us! You know,
So we have somebody that mentioned in the chat. So Joellen, her sister gave her 1 share of Apple in the 80s for her birthday, and she paid $21 for it. So looks like Joellen's going to buy dinner for everybody, but it's going to be virtual. So
yeah. You know this.
and you know, one thing I forgot to say too, and I think I brought it up last meeting, but iTunes gift cards, part of the reason they're not really, we can't find them for 15% off anymore is going forward, the iTunes gift card and the Apple store, the actual Apple physical store cards are merging into one. So in other words, if you get $100 iTunes gift card, it's also worth 100, or not also, it could, in lieu of iTunes, can be good for hardware products. So that's kind of in the mix. And I have a feeling that's why we haven't seen any discounts for the last 3 or 4 months.
So they're going to merge them. Huh?
I wish I had gotten more and stocked up a bigger amount. And of course I had stocked up, but I put them on my account. It would have been great to get 15% off Apple products if I'd known.
Yeah. Well, Kim, that's all I have. There's a whole bunch more stuff I posted on the MacNexus Facebook page. And of course,
yeah, he always does that. And you'll notice he has links to these if you put it in the chat window. So if you click on chat, there's all these active links Al was kind enough to put in there. And of course, at the end of every presentation, and I'll try to remind you guys at the end, you can save the chat window. And then those links are all, it's a text file.
There you go.
Yeah, and before we move on, I think we have Jeannie. It's Jeannie's iPad. And if you're a member, Jeannie, you need to put in your last name so you'll be eligible for the raffle. And if you're on an iPad, you tap the screen, you go up to participants, and in participants, you're the first person. Tap your name there and put in your first and last name. So, good enough. Al gets a well done. Yes, that's great. Good job, Al. Okay,
Right.
Anything else? You want to unshare your screen there?
Absolutely. Let's see here.
I can do it for you if you'd like. Okay, great. So let's go back to the, there we go. So anybody else have any news or there rumors out there that we missed that you might want to comment on? Go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up. And if not, we've got volunteer and member announcements, and we have the wonderful Donovan Hillman who'll go on first, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Donovan.
Oh, I'm here. I just want to
Oh, hang on. Let me unspotlight Al.
Okay.
Great. So now when you speak, you should be the one coming up.
Okay. I'm here, and I just want to welcome anybody that's a new member or thinking about being a new member to the meeting. And just hope everybody invites somebody to check us out. It's much easier now on Zoom.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Donovan. And you guys, he always has what you missed, and it'll be on the website, and it's great. So I have one thing from one of our members, Matthew. I don't think you're in the crowd, Matthew, are you? So he has, under member announcements, where'd it go here? He has a couple of Macs for sale, and they're not in the old class. They're in the kind of, not vintage yet, but he has a 2007 iMac available, and he has an original G4 Mac Mini, which actually, I think the G4 was the first of the Mac Minis, if I'm not mistaken. So he has some of those. If anybody is interested in that, go ahead and message me on the chat, and I will send you his email address. So any other member announcements?
How do I put my last name in?
You want an iPad?
Yes, I'm on
Okay.
iPad.
Tap the screen and you'll see where it says participants in the upper right.
I've got that.
Tap that and the first thing listed is you. So
Right.
tap your name there and then just adjust it and fill in your last name.
Oh, up here?
It should pop up when you tap your own name. It should say,
Oh,
Jeannie's
rename?
iPad. Change Jeannie's
Rename.
iPad to your first and last name.
Oh, rename. Rename is what it says.
Okay, then yeah, do that.
And
Done.
there's also somebody named Divine Draft or Divine Draft. I don't know who that is in terms of if they're a member.
Go ahead and unmute yourself if it says Divine. I actually think that would be Jackie Divine. I can rename her possibly. Let's see. Yeah, look for that's her actual email address. Does it show up on your list?
Actually, that's my daughter's name because we did a Zoom meeting and she
Okay, I just changed it to you, Jackie.
just, you tell who I am.
Yeah, you're back to Jackie Divine now. So there you go.
Well,
Okay, I'll find her then.
you made her devive.
Uh-oh, I misspelled it. Oh, geez. Hang on. Where'd it
I'm not
go?
divine, I'm divine.
I can't see it.
Devine.
And who was Jeannie's iPad? Who was that?
That's
What's
me.
the first?
What's
I
your
know, I'm
Jeannie
sorry.
Campbell.
Jeannie
Me.
Campbell. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to fix Jackie Divine here. That's terrible. I misnamed her.
Thank you.
All right, Jackie. You're not incognito anymore.
Oh, I liked it that way.
All right, so we've done the announcements. So tech Q&A. So you guys get ready now. If you want to raise your hand, so get in the habit of this. If you want to raise your hand, if you're on a Mac, you simply go into the participant screen, and at the very bottom it'll say raise hand. And if you're on an iOS device, if you tap in the upper right-hand corner where there's 3 dots and it says more, there's a raise hand. And by raising your hand, we see you in the participants list, and then we can call you. So we do have a question for the purple that was normally in our purple Mac. The question is about using a Mac Mini as a file or iTunes server. Can it run different OS than the other Macs that will access the files, and do all the Macs need the same version of iTunes? I can answer part of that. So yeah, you can set up a Mac Mini as a file server or as an iTunes server, and you just network it. It's just, you don't need the server software. You just treat it like a regular iTunes. And then the best way to do it is you actually share your iTunes with the other computers, and then it shouldn't matter. And I'm not positive because I don't do this personally, and somebody else can chime in. But you can simply do the sharing, and then it has to be running on the Mac Mini, and you're sharing it through the other devices. So otherwise, I would think that, yes, you would need to be on the same version of iTunes if you were trying to access the files directly rather than you doing sharing. Okay, let's look in here. Nobody has their hand up. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. Here we go. Bev, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, real basic question. Back on the CBS and the All Access and the Apple channel, and I don't stream anything, and I'm over the antenna, but I have a Roku. So could one
What do you mean you don't stream anything and you have a Roku?
Well, I don't
You have a Roku, you stream, anything you get off Roku is streaming.
Okay, and then and I have an account, a friend's account for Netflix that I occasionally use.
Careful, we're recording this.
Yeah, well, he's in the household, so it's a shared.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. So how, if one wanted the Apple TV thing, it mystifies me. And if but yet CBS.
There's Apple
Access-
TV and Apple TV Plus. So Apple didn't make this not confusing.
Thank you.
So Apple TV is the device. And of course, when it first came out, people didn't know a lot about streaming. I thought, oh my gosh, it's the replacement for my Comcast box. And it is not that. So Apple TV is the device. Apple TV Plus is the service. I don't know. But anyway, go forward. But that's just to kind of set the stage. It's crazy.
Can one access via the Roku Apple TV Plus?
I'm not sure because I don't have my Roku. I haven't used it for a while. I know you can use it on a computer. Can anyone answer that? I thought they were making it widespread because obviously it's a subscription service. So they want other people. They don't necessarily care about the device. They care about getting you as a ongoing monthly customer.
Or another question would be, how do you subscribe to something like that? What would be the baby steps of doing it?
Well, you go to Apple TV Plus, you go to apple.com and go to Apple TV Plus. If you've purchased a new Apple device, you get a year free. I think that still is applying.
Well,
and then as Al mentioned in the article that is linked over there in the chat, that they may make that ongoing.
but you have to, my understanding was, because I did buy an iPad September, and I've never used the Apple Plus because
Yeah,
I
and you
thought
could
you
do
had
it
to
from
watch
the
it.
iPad.
you have to watch it on your computer or your iPad, though. You can't watch it on your TV.
Yeah, so you could even get one of the old Apple TVs, and what's on your iPad, you could then throw to the old Apple TV, and it would display on your screen.
But one would need an Apple TV.
Yeah, but the old Apple TVs, the old smaller ones, are probably available for fairly little money.
Mm.
Or if
Oh.
you have a new TV that understands Apple Play, you don't even need the
Yeah,
Apple
or
TV device.
AirPlay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And Karen has her hand up. She might have some input on this. Go ahead, Karen. Unmute yourself.
There we go. There, now I.
There you go.
I seem to recall when we were getting Jill set up that she was able to go into the Roku store and download the Apple TV Plus app into her Roku and access the Apple TV Plus that way. So I
That
don't
makes
think
sense because I think that Amazon has put it on the Fire Stick, and I wasn't sure about Roku.
So I don't think you have to have the actual Apple TV box. I think you can do it through Roku.
Mm.
That's good, and you might want to just Google that and see. And then obviously it may be you may make sure that you have a recent enough Roku, but I'm not sure.
I
Yeah,
just
the
posted a
Roku's
link
probably
there.
3 years old.
Al, go ahead and speak up. We barely heard you.
Yes, I just posted a link how to watch Apple TV Plus on a Roku in the chat. So check that out. It's on the LifeWire site.
It may be that it can't be a super old Roku. Might have to be a newer one, but
Yeah, and so you can just check the specs on that. So I'm looking over the chat here. Somebody asks about Pete Losey. My understanding is the fire didn't go in the area of his new home, but they knew some people that were evacuated and they were helping out. That's Karen has concern about that. And I don't know that for a fact, but I did see some posting from Pete's wife on Facebook about it. So, okay, we have another tech question here from Melissa. iPhone 11 Pro Max overheated today. Apple camera did not work in photo mode, but other modes okay. Also, messages didn't work. Email did work. So, Melissa, go ahead and unmute yourself. I have some questions on that.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Were you charging it at the time it did it?
Well, actually, it's the other iPhone in the household. So I may not know all of these answers.
Okay.
It was traveling, but not in the windshield of the car overheating. It was just not even playing music. It was just traveling.
Did it come up with a message say it was overheating?
No.
Interesting. But it just got warm.
Well, it was the camera that was the first problem, and like bringing up the camera and photo was the first option, and it would kind of show in focus and immediately blur.
Yeah.
Really blur.
Did you restart the iPhone?
Well, you know, it's hard to restart phones because you have to like do button and
No, if it's a Face ID phone, it's really, I mean, just to turn it off and turn it back on.
well, what I did,
And then there's a reset, which would have been my next suggestion.
I did a restart.
Yeah, and that didn't help.
That did help. It was interesting because there are other camera apps on the device and they work just fine. But going back to the Apple camera, and it was just the regular photo mode that wasn't working. And it wasn't working in the 0.5 lens, the one-time lens, or the two-time
Yeah,
lens.
that sounds like, so the first choice is restart, and I don't even know that the two are related.
Okay.
Well, first of all, you force quit the photo app, and if that doesn't work, power cycle the phone. If that doesn't work, you do what's called a hard reset. And I think on the Face ID device, it's volume up, volume down, power button, or something like that. And you have to rub your tummy and pat your head, and
Right.
it'll all be good. But just look up hard reset iPhone, and the Face ID ones are different than Touch ID.
Okay.
But then
And that
the other
works.
thing is, and you know, I'm not a proponent of force quitting apps, but if the phone was overheating, go into battery and see what app is using a lot of battery, and then you can go force quit that app, or that's the only time when I recommend going through and force quitting all the apps, because at that point, if it's overheating, there's probably an app that's misbehaving. Facebook and Messenger are notorious for that, and a few others.
Okay, those are good ideas. Thank you.
You're welcome. So one other, and we'll call it the last tech question here. Oh, and Al, actually in the chat, Bev, Al put in the how to watch Apple TV on a Roku device.
There's several links in there, so take your pick.
Yeah. So Randy and everybody is kind of saying, hey, why can't we see gallery view? Well, because when we're sharing the screen, you can't. You only get so many people, and that's why if you show up early for the meeting, everybody will be in the Rogues Gallery, or as I call the Hollywood Square. So tech question, is there a way to do a full backup on the iPad Pro, just like Time Machine for the Mac, to a portable drive directly without through the Mac? No, not that I know of. So basically, you do iCloud backup, and iCloud backup, while it won't completely back up your computer, will completely back up your iOS device. The only other way to make sure you have a backup is you sync it with iTunes and you back it up into iTunes. And then at that point, your iTunes gets backed up by Time Machine. There's not a way I know of to specifically do a backup. So hopefully that answers your question. And all right, well, anyway, we're going to move on here. So let's see, tech Q&A. So what are our timelines? Oh, we're going to be a little ahead. So let's ask if there's any. Oh, I'm sorry, Georgiana, go ahead. You got your hand up. We got time for a few more questions.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm watching everybody on the Hollywood Squares mode now, and I could see your slides at the same time.
Yeah, it depends on whether you're on an iOS device or on a Mac. So
Yeah, so because all you have to do is hit that, the gallery view and just do it on the side, and you just
yeah, and then you have to scroll through. So very good point, Georgiana.
It's no big deal.
Thank you. Okay, so if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. And actually, McVeigh, we need a first and last name on your device, or you're not going to be able to enter the drawing. So everybody, by the time the presentation starts, is when they take a look at everybody that we have, of the 51 people we have in the participant screen. So make sure you have a first and last name listed there, please. or you will not be eligible for one of the prizes. And so everybody during the break, you should go back and buy raffle tickets and have the refreshments. So we're doing for the remaining Zoom, the board made a decision for the remaining Zoom meetings that we have that are Zoom only. We are, in addition to doing the $200 iTunes gift cards and the 4 $25, I'm sorry, not iTunes, they're Amazon gift cards, in addition to the 4 $25 Amazon gift cards and the 2 $100 Amazon gift cards. For everyone that's attending the meeting, we're doing an additional drawing that goes out to the entire membership, and we have 367 names, and that person does not have to be here to accept that, to get that award. So again, we want to make sure that, oh, Dave, you fixed your thing. So I'll ask the rest of Bob and Al if you can look through and see if we have to remind anyone else. Other than that, let's see, 7:39. This would be a good time. We'll take a little five-minute break or so. Go get something to drink. Go, comb your hair. Do whatever you want. I encourage you, if you're on an iOS device, please don't take it in your bathroom with you. It's, and if you go out to your refrigerator and you start using the water dispenser, turn yourself on mute your microphone, because that sounds just like someone taking their device into the restroom. So, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll be hanging around here for a minute. My water jug is all full. So, but let's meet back here, reconvene around 7:45.
Okay, the only listing that isn't a regular name is your iPad.
Yep, and I'm excluded anyway on that
Right.
one. My regular name gets in the mix.
Ken, I have a question about the update. I guess it's the OS update expected in either October or later in the year.
Right.
Do I understand correctly that for people like me still on Mojave, I think, it will signal the end of support updates or security updates rather?
No, I have not heard that at all. And that would be unlikely, because Mojave will stay current for quite a while. But frankly, I'm still on Mojave, and Catalina still has some issues. So again, if there's a compelling reason to go to Catalina, tell me what that reason is. And if not, the safe way, since the Apple stores are not able to take your Mac in if it gets messed up, and I'm not doing in-house, I'm doing everything remotely. Unless you have a compelling reason to do it, I would avoid it. I, on the other hand, have tested and know some other people that are testing Big Sur, and it actually seems to be pretty solid, and that's encouraging. So I don't think there'll be as much delay on that. There are the majority of the people that are running Catalina are doing fine, but there are some things that it breaks. It has messed with mail for quite a few people. And I don't know if you heard recently too, Adobe Lightroom members, if people were using Adobe Lightroom on their iOS devices, it unapologetically went through and deleted a whole bunch of their photos, and they're deleted. They ain't getting them back. So
That's
as I like to say, the grass, and in fact, it's perfect for this picture here. The grass may look greener over the fence, but at some point, if you go over the fence to where the grass is greener, you're going to have to weed the lawn, and you're going to have to mow it at some point. So don't always believe that it looks better when over the fence, because you don't see the rest of it. So
weeding and mowing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
What determines when a system is no longer given security upgrades? Because I thought it was after 2 more iterations had passed or something.
I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule for that. And I think it has a lot to do with basically the hardware that's supported, because In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think High Sierra is still, well, Yosemite, the browser, it's not that Apple's, they're really not supporting it any longer, but what happens is websites like Kaiser or Sutter will say, you know, that browser is just so old, we're not going to accept it, and because they're afraid of the security implications with that. So I think it's still High Sierra, you're still okay, but I think that's going to drop off pretty soon. And so you'll be left with what, Mojave, and I think Mojave will still be good for a year or two easily.
Oh, but only a year or 2 or 3.
Well, Mojave's already almost 2 years old. This fall, it'll be 2 years old because so we'll go back over it. We had Yosemite, Sierra, High Sierra, then we went to Mojave, then Catalina, and then coming up is Big Sur. I think I had that right. Somebody correct me.
Yeah,
I think that was it, right?
you're good.
Yeah, and so before Yosemite, it was the cat names, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yosemite was 10.10, and then it was 10.9. Let me ask Siri.
Oh, don't forget
What was the name for
That was
10.9 Mac OS?
the beach down by
Mavericks.
Mavericks.
10.9 was Mavericks, and that was the first of the names. What was the name of Mac OS 10.8?
Here's what I found.
Oh, that's weird. It didn't show me, but it says a Wikipedia of it.
It's Mountain Lion.
Yeah, Mountain Lion.
I think I heard Siri say that, but I think our 5-minute break is over.
Yeah, just about. All right. Oh wow, they've even this Wikipedia thing is great. They go back and Mac OS 9.20 was called Moonlight and 9.21 was Limelight, and that's pretty cool. Wow, actually, I'll go ahead and put this link
I want the kitty back.
in the chat. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm putting it in the chat.
Who had the kitty picture?
Melissa.
Yes, that was my cat.
Thank you.
And it's Mac OS what?
It's Guinness OS 1.
There you go. All righty.
So Ken, I have a
yes.
question. I
Go ahead.
have High Sierra, so is that okay for now?
For now, yeah, I don't know how much longer it will be, but it'll be getting dated pretty quick. But do you know what's the vintage of your computer?
I think it's only
Go up to the Apple
2 or
logo
3.
and come down to About This Mac.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, what version of the operating
Oh,
system?
I have,
excuse me, not the version of the operating system. What is the, what does it say for the year of the machine?
It does. Where would I find it?
Under that Mac, it may say on that screen and it may not because you have an older operating.
Oh, it says 2017.
Oh, you're a 2017? Then yeah, you could run Catalina and you'll be able to run Big Sur.
So would it be smart to switch to Catalina or not?
If you'd like to make me a very rich man, giving you tech support, go right ahead. So I wouldn't. And
Okay.
But, okay, Ken, can
Yeah.
you go from High
Yes.
Sierra or something to Mojave?
Correct.
But is that obvious in the, way to update?
I will put a link in there. It's actually quite easy. And actually, you just do a Google search for Mac install Mojave. And what it does is it creates a link to the App Store. And I will put that over there. And then you fire it up and you do Mojave.
Okay, and that would be my best bet.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, if High Sierra's working and you know,
Yeah.
the only reason I went beyond myself, I skipped High Sierra and went right to Mojave because it supported RAW for my camera. And I couldn't in Sierra. So, but that was long ago. All right.
Right. Can
Okay.
I
Thanks,
Oh, go
Ken.
ahead, Bob.
say, Ken's one end of the, just want to say that he's got opinion, others have a different opinion.
Right.
There's a lot of us, you know, I understand him, but a lot of us don't have any problems with running Catalina. So,
And if Bob had a problem, he could fix it. And that's what I'm saying is if you can give me a compelling reason why you should go to Catalina, then we can talk about it. But what's the need to go to Catalina? There are 2 features in Catalina that you don't get in other operating systems, and unless you need those features, there's no need to. And I'm you know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And I have had to deal hours and hours and hours and hours with no less than 15 people that have had issues with Catalina. Now, that doesn't mean there's 150 people out there that had great luck with Catalina, but which are you going to be, one of the 15 or one of the 150? And tell me why you'd want to take that risk. It's all about return on investment or risk. So Randy, you have a question, and we'll make this be the last question.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. On Pages, I'm doing some research for the California State Railroad Museum, and in their bibliography citations report, they're wanting us to do as docents Chicago style in the footnotes bibliography. And when I did a search on Google, it said end note, all one word together, end with a capital N note. End note is the way to go to do bibliographies and citations for Chicago style and others. But it's like $99 for an upgrade. I don't have it to begin with, and it's like $200 plus just to get the end note. Do you know any workaround that will do what Word
ultimately, are you going to share this document with other people?
Yeah, it's going to be
So
up.
my recommendation is before you do all this wrangling of text and everything else, because the majority of people have Word, I would get into a Word document and then go from there. Not that I'm encouraging Word, but you know, it's going to be much more portable, especially if you're collaborating with people. Or you could also try using Google Docs and see what it does there, because there might be a solution, and then there's some other free ones. I love Pages, and Pages is wonderful for very graphic, like newsletters and things.
Love it.
But it's not the norm when you go into other things. And then the problem is I would always test it first and see how it exports, because the problem you run into is it may not be a clean export.
I know Pages does give me the flexibility, capability to actually save as a Word document and then export it, but I'm just not sure what the bibliography, the citations would look like prior to exporting it as a Word document.
Yeah, and that's why you don't do the whole thing. You do 1 or 2 tests on that and see how it is. If anybody has any input on this, please chirp up, because I think that's important. But yeah, I know. And I know you're so loyal to Apple on stuff, but it's path of least resistance, and you ultimately have to think about what's the overall, where's this going to go, and how's it going to go there.
Thanks, Ken. I'll mute myself.
All right, thanks, Randy. Okay, so I'm going to share my iPhone screen, and we're going to dig in to.
Ken, can you just give me a couple of minutes to do the screenshots?
Yeah, so everybody is, I'll mute Lisa too. So the only unmuted, in fact, I can mute Bob and Al for now. That way you've got them in order. So no one unmute yourself, please. We're gonna leave it muted for a minute, and you still will have the participant screen up, right? So you can do it, so should be able to. All right, so I'm going to go into my Keynote, and I'm actually displaying this from my phone, and there we go. So iPhone back to basics. Well, I really like to say go forward by getting back to basics, or how to outsmart your smartphone. And, you know, this is a wonderful device. And I just thought that it's time to go back and really let's dig in to some of the basic things. So unlike usual, I'd like you to go ahead and we're going to be interactive. Royce, you unmuted yourself, please. That's going to throw the count off. No one unmute yourself yet, please. Absolutely. Or if we have to,
Canton, we're good to go.
you're good to go. Okay, great. Thank you. That's so we can get the count for the raffle. Okay, so as we go along here, please unmute yourself and ask a question if I come across something. There's one part here where I'm going to have you do a specific thing on your phone. Most everyone will get it, but if you don't get it, hang around at the very end and I'm going to walk it through so everyone will be able to get it. So don't worry about that. But going forward, so it's 13 years ago that the iPhone was announced on my birthday in 2007, and it was in June 29th is when it first went on sale. And that's the look of the original iPhone right there. And you'll notice there are a few apps, but they were all built-in apps. And they were the apps that the phone came with. And there was not an app store at that point. Hang on here, there we go. And it's interesting because they've changed a bit. So the first one was SMS, which was text. But at the time, SMS just meant short message service. So in other words, you couldn't text pictures and things back then. I mean, 2007, I mean, it was amazing. And of course, the exclusive was AT&T. And you look at the price there on the screen, it was $499 for the 4 gigabyte model and $599 for the 8 gigabyte model. And now they're up to 512 gigabytes. And that came with a 2-year contract, and the exclusive was with AT&T. So the calendar app is still very much like it was. It's interesting, the Photos app was this photo, there's the camera. YouTube was an app that was built in, and it went right to YouTube. Of course, the stock app is the same. And maps, we're actually going to talk about apps, and both apps and weather tonight a little bit. The clock hasn't changed a lot, and the calculator is pretty good, and I'll show you a trick on the calculator later and help remind me. Notes, of course. Settings, it's a little different gray gear than what we have, and of course, iTunes, and then the meat of the phone was down in the dock. It was to make phone calls, it was to do email, it was to do Safari, and of course, it was an iPad. So you had the iTunes store, I'm sorry, and then you had an iPod. So when Steve introduced it, he said what we're introducing is 3 things today: a phone, an internet communicator, and an iPod. And it turned out that they were all 3. So that's the iPhone. I still have one of the classic ones around here. I haven't fired it up in a long time, but it's pretty cool. So now you'll notice this is the pricing. It's gone up quite a bit, but we still have the iPhone SE, which is a great value at $399. You'll notice the nothing below 64 gigabytes. And remember, the smallest phone at the time was 8 gigabytes, and they had a 4 gigabyte when it first came out. iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone 11 Pro Max. You'll see the iPhone 12, whether it's going to be the iPhone 12 Pro, or their indications are they're going to bring out quite a few phones this fall, and the 12s should all have 3G. The best value in the phone line is the iPhone SE. You'll notice it has the same chip as all the other high-end phones. So it's really amazing that that thing for that price has that good a chip. You'll notice under security, it's Touch ID versus Face ID. We'll talk about that in another slide. The front camera, that's not the one you shoot photos with. You'll notice the rear camera is the same on all of these, with the exception of the different lenses. For you start with wide, ultra wide, and telephoto. So, all right. So, you know, we've all adapted to smartphones, and we aren't at beaches too much any longer, but this is considered the smartphone tan. So you're sitting, laying on the beach, and you have your phone up there like that. And then this is a picture of a guy that fell asleep with his phone on him like that. And I don't know if this was a put on or not, but anyway, be careful. Now, that brings in other types of tan lines that are more prudent to what we're doing right now. So there is the Mona Lisa with having to wear a face mask because of COVID. And here's a face mask scan, which obviously is a bit fake, but I think it's kind of humorous. So this screen's important. Now, I'm going to walk through this. So I would recommend that you take your phone out and take a picture of this screen, because there's 2 important links on this screen. So grab your phone, take a picture of this screen, and I'm going to go through these things. These are 3 great ways to get help on your iPhone, or actually any of your iOS devices. The one on the left there is the one we're going to go through, and I'm going to have everybody do this. We're going to do it so everyone can get dialed in, because this, I think, is important to have on your phone. And what we're going to be typing in is help.apple.com/iPhone. So right now, I'm going to go out and we're going to go into that. So if I go to Safari and I type help.apple.com/iPhone, all lowercase. Okay, so you can see here on the top, help.apple.com/iPhone. So everyone, please go ahead and enter that. And when you're done entering it, and if you're lost, if you can't get that in, let me know. But we go into the top of Safari, type in help.apple.com/iPhone, and you have to have it. You have to have it spelled correctly, because the computer won't know where to go if you don't. All right, so then you just hit go in the lower right corner, and you should get to this web page. So if anybody's not at this page after you hit go, please speak up, unmute yourself, and tell me what's going on. Anybody?
I'm not there.
What's that, Bev?
I'm not there.
Okay, are you in Safari? Did you go to Safari, Bev?
Yes.
Okay, keep yourself unmuted for this.
I
Safari, go up to the very top and type help.apple.com.
Okay. Can help be capitalized or not?
You shouldn't capitalize. If you're in Safari, it won't capitalize it automatically. It doesn't make a difference, but if you're in Safari, up at the very top, type help.apple.com.
Okay, when I'm in
/iPhone. All right, tell you what, hang on to the very end.
Okay.
Anybody else having issues with this, we'll go over it very slowly at the very end. So
I'm not either.
Anybody else? Dennis, what's up?
It came up and it can't access it. Let me try it again. So I got
help.apple.com/iPhone.
iPhone, yeah. /iPhone.
There's the link right there. Help.apple.com/iPhone.
Thank you. It came in now.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right.
I'm unmuted.
Louise, you having a problem?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Are you in Safari?
I typed it in exactly, help.apple.com/iPhone.
And then you hit go.
Yes, sir.
And you're in Safari. And what happened?
That's correct. I'm in Safari. I have all kinds of choices.
On your iPhone?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hang on. We'll take care of you and Bev at the end then. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Google.
No, you shouldn't be in Google. Don't worry. You didn't hit go then in the lower right. So we'll move on from here. So I'm going to go back to that. And we're going to show you how you put it up here. So once you're in this screen, notice how if I scroll up, there's no black at the bottom. Now there's black at the bottom. So I scroll down until I get this black bar across the bottom. And right in the center, you see a little box with a pointed arrow coming out of it. That's the share box. So the share box, if you don't see it again, you're going to have to scroll up or down a little bit. See how it disappears? And then when I scroll down, I see it. So you're going to go to the share box, and I'm going to tap it one time. The share screen comes up just like this. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to scroll up until I see the button that says Add to Home Screen, and I'll go back over that slowly. So in this screen, I have to scroll to expose the bottom by scrolling down, hitting the square box with the arrow coming out of it, and then once I have that screen up, I go like this, and you'll see a button that says Add to Home Screen. So I'm going to tap Add to Home Screen, and at this point it says iPhone User Guide - Apple Support. Well, that's a pretty long name, so I'm going to tap on that, and I'm just going to hit the delete key to get rid of Apple Support, so it only says iPhone User Guide. Okay, I'll go back over that again. Again, expose the share box, tap the share box, go to Add to Home Screen, delete back. You don't have to, but it just helps. Now, in the upper right corner, it says Add. At this point, I'm going to hit Add. And then you'll notice on your home screen, look at that, like magic, I have this iPhone User Guide on my phone, okay? Anybody having issues with that? Speak up if not. Or yeah, if you're having issues, speak up, I should say. Okay, so now you should have that logo on your phone. Sue, what's up?
I hit the share screen.
Yeah.
And I get my user guide.
So in Safari, you're hitting that share screen like this.
And I don't get that.
You're not getting this. You're not getting this
Tell me where the share screen is, because that maybe I'm hitting the wrong
So
button.
you're in Safari. Does it look like this in Safari for you?
It does.
So do you see the very bottom, that gray bar? Look at the screen.
It says you use.
No. Do you have this gray bar at the very bottom?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so right in the center is a box with an arrow coming out of it, right?
Yes.
Tap that box. And it should look like this, does it?
No, it doesn't. It comes up all of the people I send iMessages to.
Right, but then scroll down, scroll it up rather. And see, you scroll it up and don't you get...
Oh, there it is.
Screen?
I just didn't go far enough.
Yep.
Thank you.
Problem. You're welcome. That probably helped some other people that were afraid to speak up.
Is that only on the latest kinds of iPhones?
Nope, this has been there since iOS 7 or 6. If you have trouble with that, we'll just bring that back at the end. So what I'm going to show you now, though, once you have it on your computer, you tap that, and this is the user guide. So you'll notice that, and the beauty of this is, we talked about how Al talked about how iOS 14 is coming out in the fall. Well, when iOS 14 comes out in the fall, this will know that you're on iOS 14, and it will give you the instructions for iOS 14. It senses and knows exactly what version of the operating system you're on and will display it accordingly. So if I go up here to the upper right where the chevron is, the downward facing arrow, it just toggles one way or the other. But if I come down here, I can search the user guide, or I can hit table of contents. And when you hit table of contents, here's all the different features that you can go in and find out about. And remember, this gets updated constantly as the operating system gets updated. So this is a great tool, and it should just be sitting on your home screen, and it's that little Apple logo, and it says iPhone User G. That's one way to do things. And I'm going to go back to the other. And again, if you had trouble with that, we'll go ahead, and at the very end, I will make sure everybody's able to get this bookmarked on their phone. The second one is, you'll notice if you have an iPad, the second one there is help.apple.com/iPad, because the iPad operating system is a little bit different and you do exactly the same thing. Now, this next one is, and I'm going to see if I can highlight it. I'll put this in the chat. No, I won't be able to. I will put this, actually, if someone, Al, if you wouldn't mind, if you can type that out and post that in the chat for me while I'm going along, the edu.gcfglobal.org, and you have to have the other part of it. This is a great resource with all kinds of tech tutorials and things like that. It is fantastic. And Melissa did post in there help.apple.com/iPhone, but I tell you, you have to then be on an iPhone when you click on that, because that'll take it to you, because it won't really do much on the phone, but she did a great job with that. So let's see here. All right, so the other one is this book that you say that says iPhone User Guide. Now, so again, the first one gets updated with the operating system. This is a book on iOS 13, and I'll show you how to go find it. But the other one is this Education Global Portal. And Al, do you have it so I can switch screens? Are you still there? Or somebody, if somebody can, well, screenshot this and enter it for me if you wouldn't mind, because I'm operating from the iPhone on this. So I'm going to go show you how to go get this free book from Apple. So I'm going to swipe down from the center of my screen, which is how I search my apps. And there's books. So then I hit search in the lower right of books. And I'm going to say iPhone User Guide. And you'll see that there's 13.5, iOS 13, all of that. I just want to get the most generic version. So I either hit search in the lower right or tap the one that just says iPhone User Guide. And look at this. It shows me there's an iPhone User Guide. It's free. It's from Apple. And I simply tap that book and it will download it. And it's on my iPhone or my iPad. Melissa put that link in the chat for the education one, which is great, great, great. So thank you. Pop out your chat window. You guys can click on that. So the iPhone User Guide actually downloads to your computer. So it's only going to show you 13.6. It won't show you when 14 comes out. There'll be a new book for that. But the beauty of that is you could be on a plane where you have no internet connection, and you would be able to just read that free book and go right through that iPhone User Guide. So it's pretty entailed. It's great. So it's downloading it here, and you can go through the whole thing. And all I did is I went to books and go right through everything. All right, back to the keynote. Okay. So again, if you haven't taken a picture of the screen, go ahead. It's got everything you want on there. All right, it's up there twice. Both Melissa and Al have posted the link for the Global Phone Basics. They had some great videos in there, so I really was happy with that. So this is an iPhone 6, and I use this one just as an example. So let's talk about buttons, because people really need to know what everything on the phone does, and everybody says, well, what's that button do, or where's that button located? So this is showing a phone that has a home button and a Touch ID sensor, and of course some of us have Face ID phones. But other than the home button, most of the other buttons are the same. So in the and the other features. So in the very front of the phone, we're going to go from the upper left. That's essentially the microphone, is the little slot that's in the top of your phone. I'm sorry, that's the speaker, and that's the one you put up to your ear. So if you're not on speakerphone and you want to hear, it's right there. Well, just to the left of it is the FaceTime camera, or what they call the forward-facing camera. So that's up in there, and of course, if you have a Face ID phone, there are infrared sensors and all kinds of other things up in there. If you look along the left-hand side of the phone, that's the only button that slides. And it's slid, if you slide it to the back, it exposes orange. and that's a silent button. So in other words, it will mute any rings that come in, any certain notifications it will mute. But if you have set an alarm or a timer, even if it's on silent, the alarms and timers will ring through anyway. And that's important because when you travel and things, you can turn it off so in the middle of the night, you're not hearing all your mail comes in or messages or phone calls, but in fact, you want to use it as an alarm in the morning. So it can be on silent and the alarm or timer will still ring. Then right below that are the volume up and the volume down buttons. That's pretty self-explanatory, but what's unique on the iPhone is depending on what I'm in. So in sense, if I'm on just my home screen and I'm not doing anything, when I adjust the volume up and down, that's going to be the sound or the amplitude of my ringer. Now, if I'm on a phone call and listening to someone through the top speaker and it's up to my ear, I can raise and lower the volume and it does that. If I'm listening to music through my speaker, raise and lowering the volume, adjust that. Raising and lowering the volume does not affect everything in the system. In fact, let's say I have a phone call and I've boosted the volume way up. Well, when I switch to music, it's going to be whatever the volume was you left on music. So it is, and it's so smart because the volume is controlling only what you're doing. I have a golf app that I use where I tag my club up against this, and I don't want it to make noise, but I want, my phone has all its other sound. So I, in fact, go ahead and while it's making that noise, I hit the volume down and it works. So going down from there, of course, the app icons, there are millions of apps these days, and it's just amazing. Our multi-touch display, now I don't know if you're aware, obviously before the iPhone, there were things called kind of smartphones or feature phones where you used a little pointy stylus and you touch the screen. Well, Apple at one point, before they introduced the iPhone, bought a company called Fingerworks. And Fingerworks means that it senses how many fingers I have on the phone. And depending on what I do, like for instance on an iPad, if I go like this with my 5 fingers, it will take me to the home screen. We all know about pinch and zoom to zoom in and zoom out. And it senses how many digits or how many fingers you have on there. Not a lot of phones have a headphone jack in the bottom anymore. And that's because Apple's moved to wireless or through the Lightning. But part of the reason they did that was so that the phones would become waterproof. And the phones, in fact, are waterproof. On the other hand, the left-hand side at the bottom is where your speaking microphone is. So if your phone is up to your head, you're speaking to that microphone right there, and you're hearing through that one up there. If you're on speaker, it also uses the microphone on the bottom, which is to the left of the charge port. Then you have your Lightning connector, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then to the right of that is the speaker. It looks very similar to what's on the left, but that's the speaker. I did miss the home Touch ID sensor. That's, of course, if you have a Touch ID phone. If you have a Face ID phone, the screen doesn't have a home button. You have to swipe up for it. The SIM card tray, many of you probably even know it's there. That's where the SIM card goes in, depending on your carrier. You can swap that if you go overseas, etc. Most of the new iPhones, the higher end iPhones, actually have the ability to do 2 different carriers. You can have 2 different numbers, 2 different carriers. The sleep wake button, a lot of people call that the power button, but in fact, it's the sleep wake button, is on the right side. If you press and hold the sleep wake button, it'll come up and say slide to power off. Don't continue to hold that button because your phone will dial 911. It's your SOS. And obviously up at the very top, you see the status bar, which tells you your signal strength, your battery, time of day, things like that. So now we're going to the right-hand side there where it's the back of the phone. So on the back, you have a True Tone flash, and the True Tone flash actually has 2 different colors in it, and it senses the light that you're in. If you're in a fluorescent light situation, it will adjust the flash accordingly for what you're doing there. So it's that's what the True Tone flash is. And again, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. So you'll notice right by your camera is a hole in the phone. And I always kind of fool people when I'm doing this in person, say, Does anybody have this hole in the back of their phone by the cameras? Looks like a flaw. Well, actually, it's the rear microphone. And so if we think about it, the phone has two microphones, the one at the very bottom in the lower left and the one on the back of your phone. Well, the one on your back of your phone works as an ambient noise sensor. And what that means is if I'm in a crowded environment and there's a lot of noise, both microphones, both the one on the back and the one at the bottom, are picking up all the noise. So by picking up all the noise, or if I'm in a plane and you hear the whooshing of the wind across the plane, both microphones are picking that up. So what it actually does is it takes and does it senses that, and it does what's called noise canceling. And by doing noise canceling, it makes it so people can still hear you, because when you're speaking, you're only speaking into the one microphone, and it cancels out noise that comes to both microphones. And of course, on the back, you have the iSight camera there, and that's the one that you may have up to 3 cameras. The new iPhone will be coming out, and it will probably have 3 cameras plus what's called LiDAR. So that'll be in the fall. All right. One thing. So now I'll mention this. Let me get rid of that. So at the bottom is where your Lightning connector goes in. So I've had numerous people get to me. Oh, hang on here. How do I get search and to come down from a swipe? Karen, I'll show you that in a second. Thank you. Oh, finger in the middle, screen down. Dale answered that. I'll show how that works when I go back on the main phone. But I've had quite a few people, they call up and they say, you know, my phone just doesn't charge anymore. I don't know why it won't charge. So the first thing you do, you suspect the cable. So you always want to make sure you have a good cable. And when you think about it, you want to have a good quality certified Apple cable and charger, because it's not just that it works real well. The second thing is, you know, these things pack a lot of heat. You've got it on your nightstand and you're charging it every night. You don't want to have the least expensive charger out there and have things catch fire. But what happens is we put these in our pocket, in our purse, in our jacket. It's sitting next to us in the car seat, whatever. Lint gets in this hole. The majority of the times people have trouble charging their phone is there's too much lint in there. So don't get something metal, but either get a wood toothpick or a little plastic toothpick on a Swiss Army knife, or some little pick that's plastic, and go in there and pick out all the lint that's in there. And 95% of the time that will cure your charging problem. So again, in that little lightning connector hole is what you want to do. That's very important. And when you've got it cleaned out, then blow out on it. Go ahead.
What about using like the compressed air?
Yeah, you know, it's going to try blow it in farther. You can, but I just find a toothpick to be the best. And then I just blow it once I got most of it out, because if it's a big chunk of lint, it's in there pretty good. And air has to be able to go somewhere. And it's not maybe going to take that big blob and take it out. And you can get in there. You can use another iPhone with a flashlight to look in there. But just use a toothpick or a plastic pick or something. And then I do recommend blowing it out. But lint is, again, it's fibrous and kind of long. And a lot of times, if it's a big lint ball, you're not going to get it out with compressed air. So this is just showing you the difference between a Face ID phone and a Touch ID phone. So the Face ID phone, to get to the home screen, you swipe up from the little white bar that's on the bottom on the left side. So that's just showing the difference on these, I think, are iPhone 8s and an iPhone 10. So we're going to go in and do Apple Maps. Now, I have at least three different mapping programs on my phone. I use Waze when I'm traveling. I use Google Maps quite often, but I use Apple Maps because of some other features, and it's pretty prominent right now. So first is the turn-by-turn directions. It's really good on the Apple phone, and if you have an Apple Watch, when it's time to make a turn, your watch will vibrate and tell you whether you're turning left or turning right and things like that. Plus, it's what Siri defaults to. Now, unlike Google Maps, You can't put multiple waypoints in. It's a point A to point B, and that's it. But once you're en route, you can say things like, if I'm going to San Francisco, say, take me to an Apple store along my route, and it will put that in the navigation. So I'll show you navigation in a minute with Apple Maps, but I wanted to also show you, this is what it looks like. If you have Bluetooth in your car, in other words, if you can make and receive phone calls in your car through your car speakers, through your phone, and or you can hear music from your phone through your Bluetooth car speakers, there's a feature that you don't have to enable. It's on there all the time, and it will tell you when you disconnected from your car where you parked it. So, you know, when we used to go out to big events like Cal Expo and things like that, that was when you were able to, you would go, where's my car? Well, it's going to show you where you last left your car. The only problem is if someone gets your car, they have your keys and they move your car, it's not going to follow where your car is. It simply is logging where you disconnected from your car. But it's very, very helpful. And of course, there you can see you can even do directions to get you back to your car. And as long as you have Bluetooth in your car and you've used your iPhone with us, this will happen automatically. And if it doesn't, here's where you go for settings. You go to Settings, Maps, then in the bottom here on the right there, you just select Show Parked Location. And you don't have to do anything, and this will work all the time. Okay. And this is how you get directions back to your car. You just tap the car and say that, and you use walking directions. You'll notice in the lower right there, you have a way to drive, walk, transit, or ride. Anytime you do directions, you have that option. Now, this is poignant for the times, is anytime you're in Apple Maps and you're hovering over a location, it will show you what the air quality index is on the map. So this is really a great feature, especially up here in Lincoln. We were over 300 about 4 or 5 days ago, and you could tell. And luckily today we stayed under 100, but 300 is very unhealthy. So you're able to kind of see where different things are if it's a concern for you. I'm going to talk about some other ways to look at that. So the other thing with the phone, back when you could travel internationally, the killer app is Google Translate. It actually takes and you can download almost 100 different languages. They now have conversational mode where the two people can talk back and forth. You say something, it translates it into whatever language you want it to. The person that's speaking the other language speaks into the phone, and it comes back and you go right on. But this is actually a thing that is Google Translate. This is part of it where you can read signs in the other language, just like that. I'll show you that again, because this is really incredible. And this has been in the iPhone for a long time, and it's a free app in Google Translate. You simply hold it up to the picture and it reads that. From Cyrillic, it reads it, and it says access to city. So that's Google Translate. Since we're not traveling by air too much, a lot of people are traveling, I can't speak highly enough of this app to travel, and it's got many, 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 most national parks. And this guy gives you directions on, hey, if you're going along here, up here around this bend on the right-hand side, there's a little pullout. If you go there and hike an 1/8 mile long trail, you'll see this. It's having your own tour guide, and it's downloaded to your phone, so you don't have to worry about cellular connection. And it's GPS located, and it depends on whether you're going which direction. It knows if you're going one direction, it keeps hitting the spots along the way. I used to go as a young child, up through my teenage days, I would go to Yosemite for a week every summer, and I know Yosemite like the back of my hand. And last time I was in Yosemite, I used this, and it told me a lot of things that I didn't know about Yosemite. So if there's a long spot where there are no if there are no sightseeing spots, it will talk about the geology or the history. And I just can't speak highly enough. And sometimes they bundle the apps. Like when I went up to Banff and Jasper and stuff, it bundled the Canadian Rockies together in one app. So that's Gypsy Guide, and it's wonderful. And you can pre-plan your trips also, because you can go and see the highlights and they'll tell you what's up. But I very much believe in that one. Question, go ahead.
I just looked that up and it's got one for Yellowstone and Glacier. Do you get all the separate ones or is there one main one?
Well, what you do is you look for the bundles, and you can go, I look on their website first and then go and you can look at the app and see if they're bundled. They have individual parks, and that's a little less money, but sometimes they'll have 3 parks put together that are nearby, and you'll save money by buying all of them. Like you'll notice in the upper right hand corner, Bryce and Zion, you can buy individually, or you can buy them as a set. Same thing with Yellowstone and Grand Teton. Yellowstone's a standalone like that. So anyway, that's Arches and Canyonlands were together. So, and they've just introduced the Black Hills. I got an email from them. So you go to the website, but it's really in the App Store, but you can get a lot of information on the website. And this narrator is just, he's the best. He's like having a navigator, and he's just very, I can't speak highly enough. And there's a competitor to this now, not really a competitor. There's a new app. In fact, I'm going to pull it up. Let's see. I think that was our last. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up a new one that actually, it turns out it was an acquaintance of mine that his brother made this, and it's doing well, and it's got great reviews. It's called Here, like H-E-A-R, here, and then here. And so it's here. And what it is, I'm going to go to the app itself and go in H-E-A-R. So there's the app. Now, when I zoom out, you'll see these pin locations, and each of these little bubbles are something it tells about that. If I tap on that one, it says Rancho Cordova, and it's got a whole thing about Rancho Cordova, and it's audio. And then the next one is Snowshoe Thompson. Or if I go up here and there's Folsom, Joe Folsom and his famous Sacramento land grab. So things like this that you don't even know about, Folsom Prison Blues, Johnny Cash. So if you zoom out, it's amazing all these points of interest that you see. And you can set it so that as you're driving, it will speak about the ones nearby, or you can always go to the map and play them. So I think it's a $10 app. Somebody can correct me on that, but it's awesome, and I've only just started using it. And again, it's called Here, H-E-A-R, H-E-R-E, Here. Okay. Now, up to this point, if there's any questions, raise your hand or unmute yourself, and I've got a couple other things to go through here that we can talk about. Everybody's either asleep or they're waiting for the tape. Karen, go ahead with your question. Unmute yourself.
Okay. I can't seem to get my new my iPhone SE to when I'm trying to use it in the car for navigation, I don't get any voice on it.
Yeah, here's the deal. It's not just you.
Oh, good.
It's not your phone. It's the way the car handles it. And I'm glad you brought it up because it's actually on my notes to go over. So we're going to talk about Bluetooth in cars because that's really critical. So the way Bluetooth works in a car is it's designed to let a phone call come through and go to your speakers no matter what. If you're listening to a DVD or a cassette player or an 8-track tape, like you've got that in your car still, it's designed to break through no matter what's happening because that's important, and it makes it so you don't have to reach for the phone and do things like that. So on the other hand, think about it like your home. Let's say you have a big home component stereo. You've got, let's say you have an old VHS, an old compact disc, DVD player, you've got your cable box. Well, your TV has to know which source you want to play to it. So remember, you have the TV, which in this case would be the speakers in your car, and you have different things that you have to set the TV to watch or listen to, your DVD player, your VCR, things like that. So your car is the same thing. You have AM radio, you have FM radio, you may have Sirius XM, you may have a DVD player. I don't know if I already said that. Anyway, or a CD player, yeah. And you could have your phone. They're all sources of sound. So what happens is Bluetooth is one of those sources. So if you're listening to the radio, there's nothing that tells it when it's trying to give you directions or even listen to your music, say, oh, go use Bluetooth now. You have to select the phone and then your directions will come through. What I like to do is I have my phone mounted right next to me in the, next to the steering wheel, and I have it so it tells, I just use the phone speaker because I'm listening to something else through the car. Now, all cars handle it differently and Bluetooth changes, and I call it Bluetooth voodoo because it's weird. It can change and every car is different and you're not going to have it consistent. But what's happening is you're telling it to listen to AM radio and the phone is connected by Bluetooth to your car and it's sending that noise to your car, the directions. But the problem is your car says, I'm listening to the radio. I'm not listening to Bluetooth. So you have to go and change Bluetooth to be the source. And the way to get around that is these days, the streaming is so cheap. And what you do is you set your phone to like stream your radio or do your music or things like that. Therefore, if you're streaming your music through your phone, it's going through the speakers. And then when the directions come up, it will mute the music and give you your directions. And then the music will come back on afterwards. Or for instance, with a podcast, it's wonderful. I listen to podcasts in my car all the time. It will actually pause the podcast. Obviously, you can't pause a stream, but you're pausing a podcast because it's downloaded to your phone and then it keeps playing again. So that's not an answer to your, it's not a cure to your problem. It's just how you go about it. And you have to choose the source. So what I do, if I'm still listening to the stuff in the car, I'll tell the phone to have it on speakerphone for the directions.
Can I throw another piece in that?
Yeah, Bob, go ahead.
So he's had several new cars the last few years, and every one of them had to go into the car's settings one time and do a Bluetooth match one time, and after that, everything worked.
So in other words, if you're using turn-by-turn directions on the phone and you're listening to music through the car, the directions come through?
Yeah.
Well, that's unusual. And again, because it doesn't.
Anytime I get a phone call,
I didn't say a phone call.
The radio dies, and
Bob, as I said, it's when a phone call will always break through, but directions from your GPS will not. The phone call is designed to break through in Bluetooth.
Yeah. But I was just adding to the conversation that some cars, you have to do it through the car.
Oh yeah, you obviously have to, and that's why I said in the beginning.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, and that's good because again, and the pairing of the Bluetooth to the car, man, it can be, you've got to go through 12 pages in the handbook and things like that. Every car is different. And if you're having trouble with either the phone or the music through your Bluetooth, many times you want to unpair it from your car and bring it back in, and that cures a lot of these problems. But the reason you're not hearing the sound is because you haven't selected phone as your source, and it's overriding by it. But phone calls, Bluetooth, I don't know of a single car that the phone call won't automatically come through. Okay, any other questions on that? I want to show you a little bit of Apple Maps here. And so you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner, so our air quality index in Lincoln here is at 130. So let's go back down in the lower right, and I'll go down to Sacramento, and let's see what it is. Come on. Sacramento, 116. So depending on where I go to, you can see and it also now gives you the weather indication there, like it's clear there. It was a little cloudier over here, I think. Yep, a little cloudy over Sacramento. So it gives you a weather and it gives you the air quality index. Well, there are two great sources for air quality index, and there's the new one out here, and it's wonderful. It's called Purple Air. purpleair.com. It's a website, and I really like this website, so I pull that up, purpleair.com, and I'm sure one of our great people will link that in the chat there. So now you'll see it says a map. I say, yes, allow my location. And now it zooms in, and there it's pretty close to what the AQI is. So nearby it's 156, but on the other hand, you see this little green one here that says it's 6. Well, that's probably somebody's home unit, and it may be inside or something. So don't count on that, but you can count on the big ones. So Purple Air makes these devices. That's why they do it. So you'll notice up here in the foothills, everything's red. Around Sacramento is red and orange, and you can see the scale on the bottom. So as we go up here, look at this, going towards the coast, up in this way. Let's see, Sioux Harms, you're looking pretty good over there in Bodega Bay. So it might be cold, but you don't have any of the smoke. So if we zoom way out, you can kind of get a feel for what's going on around there. Pretty
There's a
interesting.
checkbox at the bottom so you can turn off home inside speakers.
I'm sorry?
The ones that show a low value or inside somebody's house.
Inside sensors, there you go. Perfect, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, so now the home sensors won't show up.
I bet some still do because people forget to indicate that that's a home sensor.
Yeah, well, no, because Purple Air makes these sensors, and so they kind of know by the report. But people, yeah, what they did is it's an outside sensor they brought inside. But you can see the trends in the area. So obviously, you want to believe the ones that are down at 0, but I would believe the aggregate of them all. Boy, and that's interesting. Look at 344. You know what? That's an anomaly in Sacramento. That one's got to be off because you've got 70s and 80s all the way around it. But we were around 340 really about 5 days ago.
Condolences to all of us.
Yeah, I stayed inside. What's interesting though is it was super hazy, but you didn't smell smoke. But it was half that 2 days later, and I could smell the smoke. It was really weird. So that's Purple Air. Also, you can go to CAL FIRE's website and go from there. I want to show you though, I'm going to use Siri to use Apple Maps now. So I can say, navigate to Sacramento International Airport.
Getting directions to Sacramento International Airport.
And that was supposed to be playing through the computer, but it didn't. All right, so it put it in automatically, and it's
Starting route to Sacramento International
I haven't
Airport.
touched anything, and it did it.
Head southeast on Brightcliff Lane.
It thinks I'm moving. All right, so now it's giving me directions all the way to Sacramento International Airport. I didn't have to do anything. I just pressed the Siri button. So you could have said the word hey and the word Siri, and it would have come up automatically. So I don't, it's because I'm tethered to a cable here, it thinks I'm spinning around, but I'm not doing circles, really I'm not. And besides, that's my backyard. So that does the navigation for you, and it will give you turn-by-turn directions. You'll notice along the bottom, I can swipe up, and now they have some other features. I can tap nearby gas stations, nearby diners, etc. But I'm gonna hit end. Now, I don't know if you've ever run into this or had somebody else run into this where you're driving along where it directs you to drive in and you stop at a gas station and go buy water. Well, you're walking down the aisle and it says, please turn left. And you're going, well, why would I want to turn left? I'm inside this. And the thing is, it thinks you're moving along outside, so it's trying to direct you accordingly. So what you do is, at the bottom there where it says end, I'm going to tap the end, and it really doesn't end it. It should have said pause, because it actually pauses the directions, so you can walk down those aisles and you won't be having it tell you a whole bunch of stuff. And at this point, I can either resume or end the route. I'm going to end the route. because I'm going to show you how to enter manually Sacramento International Airport and see what choices you get. So if I just tap the search at the bottom and I type SMF and I'll say Terminal A. So now you'll see that, so it comes up and it gives you a lot of information about it. There's a phone number, you can tap that and call it. You can add it to your messages. You can tap the address, whatever you want. But if I say directions, I'm tapping the directions. Now it will give me at least 3 different routes on how to get there. And you'll notice each route shows you how long it will take. So you can choose these routes, and these are based on real-time traffic statistics on what they are right now. So if I decide to go this one route, it's 39, either of the top 2 routes are 39 minutes. Even though it's longer, it's faster to go the freeway to get there. So I can tap on each of these routes and it will adjust accordingly. Now, if you'll notice along the bottom, I probably wouldn't be walking to the airport, but I can tap it and it will give you, of course, it's not going to direct you along the freeway because there's no walking on the freeway. And then transit availability. And the transit's great because it even shows you when you tap on these, it'll show you when the trains come, when the buses come, etc. So I have to walk a half hour to get to the nearest station there. And of course, then ride is Uber or Lyft. Now that they're still operating, and it shows you about what the fee would be to do it to the airport. And this is out from
All on maps?
my place at Lincoln. I'm sorry?
This is all on maps?
Yes, this is Apple Maps. Absolutely.
Settings will let you reveal all these.
No, you have to put directions and then that comes up. I didn't change anything in settings.
Ah.
It's default. But you have to find a location and then tap directions, and then you get many choices. So the other thing is, you'll notice in the upper right, there's an eye with a circle around it. That tells me to look at it in satellite view or in map view. And of course, map view is this is the night mode of map view. Your map will do that so that if it's in a car and you have it up in your thing, it's not going to blind you with all this brightness. So it changes to dark at night. And then if I go down here, then below that is what's called a compass rose. So if I tap, let's say I'm over here, I'm just moving the map to San Francisco. Well, if I hit the compass rose, that arrow up in the upper right, it will always take me to my location. If I tap the arrow again, it will orient me the way that my phone is facing. I'm now turning my phone. So I've tapped it a second time, and you'll notice there is actually a compass there. So now my phone is facing north. If I tap the compass rose arrow again or the compass, it will turn me back to what's called north up. In other words, the map is displayed with north always on the top, east on the right, west on the left, and south down. Again, you tap that compass rose one time to go where you are, a second time, and then it does whichever way the phone is pointed, okay? And I'm moving the phone to do that. And that helps when you're doing, you want turn-by-turn directions rather than north up. So the other thing that kind of comes in on the map, and I'm going to show you this, and it has to do with both Yelp and Siri. So I'm going to say, find the nearest sushi restaurant.
Okay, here's what I found.
So there's the closest sushi restaurant is in 0.7 of a mile away. Aussie Sushi or AZ Sushi is 1.8 miles away. So it's sorting it by distance. So now that's probably not the best way to find a sushi restaurant. The best way to find a sushi restaurant would be this way. Find the best sushi restaurant nearby. So now it says, oh, there's one that you'll notice it's the first one has got 5 bars on it. So, or 5 stars from Yelp. So that's pretty good. So if I tap on that location, I can go right there and it'll do directions from the map. I can tap the map, it'll show where it is. I can call them. It shows the hours. There's their address. If I tap their phone number, I'll be able to call them. There's some pictures of the restaurant. Then you'll see they take Apple Pay, so that's somebody I want to help. And down there, they'll tell you whether they got takeout, delivery, etc. And then here are some of the reviews on Yelp. And from there, if I tap Yelp, open Yelp, it'll take me right there. But again, we'll just tap directions. And there it is. And then it's then in this same screen, I go down and it shows the different routes. So I'm going to pick this one route.
Starting route to Roll and Go Sushi.
Anyway, and
Head northeast on.
I never knew of that place, and it looks pretty good. We'll have to see. And they're closing soon, so I don't think I'll make it tonight. So that's Apple Maps and how it ties into it with Siri. And let's see. Oh, so going back to Safari, we showed you, and again, I'm going to show you at the end how to go ahead and do that home Apple support thing if you weren't able to do it. But I want to show you, so here's Purple Rain. Let's say this is something I want to have access to very easily. I could bookmark it, but if it's something I go to a lot, I go again to the share screen at the bottom, the little share box, and I tap that. And I'm going to scroll down and say add to home screen. And it says Purple Air. So now when I add this to my home screen, even though it looks just like an icon, it's not an app, or it looks just like an app. It's not an app. That's actually a bookmark to Purple Air. So when I tap on that, it'll always take me to Purple Air as a website. So those are really bookmarks, but they look like apps and you go right to them. Two little tips. So if you have a Touch ID phone, you go in here where it says Touch ID and passcode. In my case, it says Face ID. And if you're having trouble with it reading your fingerprint, go in there. If you use the same finger, add the same finger one more time. You can get up to 5 fingers added. But what it'll do is the water in our body changes our fingerprints. You might be low on water. You might have too much water. And so it'll change the shape of your fingerprint. So if it doesn't work for Touch ID, go in there and don't erase your old fingerprint. Add a new fingerprint with the same finger, and then next time you go to try unlock your phone with a fingerprint, it may help it. With Face ID, you can redo your Face ID if you need to. So let's see. I highly encourage a case and a screen protector. That's something you should have on your phone. I dropped mine the other day. I rarely drop it, but I did, and luckily it just cracked the case, but it didn't do anything to the phone. And I always have a screen protector on there. I encourage you to use Apple Pay. Apple Pay is wonderful. You can simply get to your wallet by double tapping the button on the side, and you can go and use different cards, any card you want. And Apple Pay is wonderful. If you have an Apple Watch, it works on that.
Can I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead, because that was the last of my points. So I'm open to any questions now. Go ahead, Melissa.
Well, I'm kind of, it follows on your Apple or your wallet thing. I have the Apple credit card and I get my daily cash back. But what I have to do, it seems, is take my daily cash and push it back to my bank account. And then from my bank account, put it to my Apple services, you know,
Well, an easier way would be so you can go into messages, let's say.
Okay.
And here, I'll just use Ken Henry, for instance. And you'll notice that it says, so if you choose me in your messages, go down to Apple Pay and just send that amount to me.
I got it. Yeah, I can do that.
So it's easier. I didn't say it's the best thing you should do. You know, I don't have the Apple Card, but Apple is tweaking a lot of that stuff. So if anybody's an Apple Card member, they can address that. But I know that, you know, it's Apple with, oh gosh, what's the bank? Goldman Sachs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're tweaking it because they're partners on it, and you know, it's the first credit card they've ever done on Goldman. And so Apple's getting all that stuff to be a little bit better. And I know it's kind of a work in progress. So I apologize, but I can't answer that question for you.
Can I
Somebody else might be
intervene
able
on
to.
that one?
Go ahead.
This is Joelle and Melissa. I just paid my Apple bill today and I noticed that it let me use my accrued money that had been piling up from using it to pay the bill, to pay part of the bill. Have you noticed that?
No, I'll go back in and check it out again,
Yeah,
Joellen.
look at it as if you're paying the bill from your iPhone
Great.
on the wallet app.
Okay.
Because that
And
it's
speaking of
$200 off what I owe.
And speaking of credit cards, everyone, if you buy much stuff at Amazon, and you're a Prime member, make sure you get the Amazon Prime card. You get 5% cash back on, not cash back, but credit towards anything on Amazon or Whole Foods. So I encourage that. Next question is from Carolyn. Go ahead.
Could you please show me the icon for the Purple Air app? I don't think I'm finding
Well,
it.
did you add it to your home screen?
Well, I'm in the Apple Store.
It's not
and
an
I'm,
app. No. It's Safari.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
it's
you.
Safari. But then what I did is I added it I added it to the home screen and it made it look like an app. Let's see.
Okay, thank you.
There it is. See, it just made it look like it uses the little favicon, the little part in front. Yeah, there's not a Purple Air app.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.
Ken, how do you add it from the website to your screen?
You go to that little share box that we're going to have to help you with later, the same way we did the Apple one. So after the raffle, we'll go ahead and do that. So,
I have one question, Ken.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Says the calculator trick is reminding you.
All right. Thank you. So I teased this. So if you go to the calculator, it's a good old calculator. But if you turn your phone sideways, it becomes a scientific calculator. Not many people know that. So you can be totally geeked out with this. So what you should do, though, is if you use the scientific calculator, you're supposed to get a pocket protector and a bunch of pens and pencils in there, too. So Jeannie Campbell, you have a question? Go right ahead.
Yes. Do you have a suggestion for mileage app, like would track your medical miles, business miles, etc.?
Oh gosh, there used to be one because my car does it.
Your car does it?
I think it's Mile IQ or something like that. I would Google it and just say best mileage record keeping app and say iPhone app and see what it is. And then I go through and I look at the reviews and actually see how many users they have. That's always one thing.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else has one that they use, go ahead. Keith McMahon, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
I noticed as you were scrolling through your apps, you have the BEN app, B-E-E-N. I think that's really interesting. You might want to spend a minute talking about what that does.
Go ahead. I haven't used it, I don't think. Oh, this is the conversion app?
No, you got it up there. It shows you all the countries in the world you've been to and all of the states you've been to in the United States.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I see that. And, oh, wow.
Wow. Oh, the places.
I don't remember going to some of these. That's cool. So it's automatic. So I did nothing to it. And what's it do, Keith? Does it go in and use your photos?
No. It's self-regulating. You click on all the countries that you've ever been to around the world and all of the states you've been to in the United States, and then it calculates some kind of a percentage you've been to.
Well,
20% of the countries in the world or whatever it is.
It's funny because I do not remember entering those countries.
Well, it must be getting something then from your iPhone, like pictures.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it is.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I forgot about Saint Martin. Yeah, so Keith, thank you. I learned something new, so that's great. I know I got it, and I don't know when I got it or what, but wow.
Where's the app, Ken?
It's B-E-E, Ben, like you've been somewhere, B-E-E-N. So Keith, thank you. And in my 700 apps, I didn't do it. So that brings up another point. So when you have a lot of apps like I do, you can always use Siri, and you can just say, launch TPE, which is one of my photography apps. And oops, I was saying on. Launch TPE. There, it launches my Photographer's Ephemeris app. And I'm planning my trip to the Eastern Sierras coming up. And so I was looking at where sunrise and sunset was and different things like that. But you can always use Siri to launch different apps. So Keith, thank you for that. And I may have unraised two people's hands. So feel free to raise your hand. I only see Lane's up there right now. So go ahead, Lane.
Yes, charging the iPhone. Will it harm the phone to use the bigger wattage charger that I have for an iPad?
No. So the larger charger, first of all, the little iPhone charger does not do a good job charging the iPad at all. It'll just kind of maintain charge or lessen, or if it's asleep, it'll maybe charge it. So that's a 1.2 amp charger. The charger for the iPad is a 2.4 amp charger. It's still 5 volts, so it actually charges your phone almost twice as fast, and there's no problem with that at all. And then the newer phones come with a different wall adapter that's USB-C, which charges it even faster. Now, you will notice some heat increase the faster it charges, but it's within spec and it gets pretty warm, but the phone would regulate that and make that not be an issue. So great question. So if you're traveling, if you're traveling with an iPad and an iPhone, you only want to take one charger, go take your big iPad charger. What I do is I buy an Anchor charger that has 5 USB ports on it so that I can charge all my devices, because you've got your watch and things like that. So good with that, Lane?
You could also go wireless.
Yes, thank you for.
Yeah, as
for
Bob
answering
says, you
that.
can use a wireless adapter too, and then they have different speeds on those. In fact, my phone, I hardly ever plug my iPhone in. I have it on a wireless easel stand, and Anchor's one of the ones that makes a good one like that. So, John Hart, go ahead.
How do you take cards out of your wallet?
I'm sorry?
I have credit cards in my wallet and I don't use anymore. How do you take those out? Or just leave them?
Let's see here. Oh, come on, no. All right, so I believe you go down. Oh, no, you go into settings. Settings, wallet, and Apple Pay. And here's where you would delete the cards or add a card and do different things. And in fact, I'm changing, this is because I needed to be there. I changed my default card to my Fidelity because that's a 2% cash back. And I believe that you then go in, let's say I wanted to delete this card. Yeah, when you go to the card, you go down and say, remove this card.
And another question on that, I got a new Capital One card.
Yeah.
Do I have to take out the old one and put the new one in, or leave?
You might check if it's the same account. So I left a card at a restaurant one time. It was a city Costco card, and they sent me a new card, and I went to go put it in Apple Pay, and it had already updated to the new number automatically. I didn't do a thing. So
It's the
check.
same account.
It might do that. But yeah, it's same account, but a different number, or same number, just different expiration date.
Expiration date.
Yeah, so, and I'll give you a little tip on this. So on the expiration date, that sometimes when it's in here, it's so far in the future that you don't have to update it on Apple Pay. But another thing, like when you're filling in Apple Pay many times, I'm sorry, not Apple Pay, but when you're using a credit card in Apple Pay, when you name your card, because you don't have the card physically in front of you, but they might need the expiration date and the little CVV number. When I make my name in my card, I use the CVV number and the date in the title of my card, so I always know what it is when I do it.
Okay,
All right, so we're about ready to have our raffle. So I encourage everyone to stick around, and if you will draw, again, 4 $25 iTunes, Apple, Amazon gift cards. We're going to choose $200 Amazon gift cards and a third one that goes to the entire membership. And we have that membership list. Both, and Al, I want to thank you for putting the links in there. Hang on, Amazon off. That's the wake word for my other device. So Karen also put some stuff in there. Thank you, people that put the links in there for us. Nope, you can't use the calculator to print out except on the Mac. Oh, so yeah, the app for all the, I'm looking at the quick questions here. The app that was the one of the countries was BEEN. All right, so I'm gonna draw these, and both Lisa and Mary have put the list together. And when I draw the name, the number, they're gonna tell me who it is. And if your name gets called, stick around so we can verify that we have your current email address, because tonight you'll be emailed the gift card. So first we're gonna draw for one of the $25 gift cards, and go ahead, we're 367, is that correct?
Yes, for the all member, yes.
Yeah, and then for the, how many numbers for the room?
53.
53, fantastic. So give me a random number between 1 and 53. 45 is the answer on the first one. So while they're looking that up, I'll call the second one.
That's Jackie Devine.
Jackie Devine, it's good we changed her name. You sure it's not Jackie Devive? And you do have her email address there, correct?
Yes, I have to unhide stuff, but yes, I've got it.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Congratulations, Jackie. So now give me, and it was, I'm sorry, 50, how many?
53.
Give me a random number between 1 and 53.
It's 7.
Number 7.
Carlos Miranda.
All right, he wins raffles often. And so I should point out that if you also, if the same number wins one $100 gift cards, you have to give up the 25, well, unless you want to keep it and not do the 100, but we'll give you the 100 and then we'll redraw on the 25. So now for the third $25 gift card, give me a random number between 1 and 53. 50.
50. David McVeigh.
All righty. And good, because he signed on originally with just McVeigh. Give me a random number between 1 and 53.
The answer is 33.
33.
33.
That's the 4.
Louise Brown.
All right. One of our newer members. So that's the 4 $25 gift cards. Now for one of the 2 $100 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 53. 36.
No, wait a minute. It's the entire.
No, that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Peter Killian.
All right, Peter, another longtime raffle winner. Give me a random number between 1 and 53.
That would be
31.
Lane White.
All right. And 367 is our number for the entire membership?
Yes.
Okay. Give me a random number between 1 and 367.
2 and 367.
No, Bob, it's not. We changed it on the
We
list.
renumbered it from 1 to 367.
We got rid of the line
Okay.
at the top.
Yeah, that's
88.
88. The lucky winner is Donna Mitchell.
Donna Mitchell, and we have an email address for her, I hope.
I think so. I've got everything hidden, so.
Okay.
But I'll get those names
Yes,
and
you do.
emails to you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think there was only one person we didn't have an email address for. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Now, so now anybody that wants to stick around, again, thank you, Bob. He gets the list together from membership.
Yes, very much.
And
Thanks, Bob.
yeah, that helps us a lot so that we have these drawings go off. We have Mary and Lisa do a great job with Mary, or Lisa's the treasurer, and she also helps her and Mary put together so we can keep these names straight. Al Tribbett, thanks for all the links and all your input on that. And Thank you, Cheryl, for putting the coffee and the cookies back there, you and Carol Becker. And other than that, anybody that wants to stick around, go ahead and ask some questions. And then I'm going to go through this, how to get the, Melissa, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I just noticed something on your display on your iPhone. I see little red marks over.
Yeah, that's some sort of video artifact that's happening with the Zoom. That's
Okay.
actually, it's on the, you're seeing it, but it's not on my display. And I noticed that I didn't want to disconnect the cord or anything. So anyway,
Okay.
that's.
All right. It was just kind of funny. Okay.
No, I agree. And I saw that, but I think it's just a matter of it's some sort of video artifact happening.
Okay. Thanks. A good meeting. Good review of the basics.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Ken,
Again, stick around if you weren't able to get this thing on the home screen, because I want you guys to have it, because it's a wonderful way to do it. And we'll walk through it very slowly and make sure everybody does it.
Ken, what
Yes.
was the app that showed you which countries you had visited?
BEEN, like I've been everywhere. BEEN.
Okay, thank you.
I'll pull it up again.
Yeah, Royce can check off a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so those of you that are here, you guys go ahead, and anybody that's wanting to have this tutorial and you have any issues with it, go ahead and unmute yourselves and we can go through this. This is bonus session, and we can't take too long because it's going to delay people getting their Amazon gift cards. So anyway.
Yeah, Ken, this is
Yeah.
Bev. I did finally, my router's being real slow tonight. I did finally get the screen pulled up on Safari with the 3 orange apples phones showing. So that's where I couldn't get to before.
This one?
Yes.
Great.
That was real slow loading.
But you haven't saved it to the home screen yet, right?
No, I just got it.
Okay,
in
so is there
Safari.
anybody that hasn't gotten here yet? In Safari, doesn't have this screen up? Anybody?
Yes.
You don't have it up, Mary?
No, because we were doing the raffle
fine.
thing. So
Okay,
how
so
do you
go-
get that
Go
up?
to Safari
Yeah,
on your phone or your iPad.
right.
Go up to the very top and type in help, HELP, dot Apple, APPLE.com,
Right.
and then change your keyboard and hit a forward stroke.
Okay. I've
And
got
then
it now.
Go back and type in iPhone.
Yeah, it automatically populates. But
Okay, then hit go in the lower right.
yeah.
And does
Mhm.
your screen look like this?
Yes.
Okay, is there anybody that's not here that's trying to follow along? Please speak up. Or forever hold your peace. All right. So
The only thing, Ken, I see is the Zoom right in the middle of the screen.
are you watching us on your iPhone?
No, I'm on my desktop. I see all the pictures of the people on the right, but everything else went away.
No, but are you trying to put this on your iPhone?
Oh, no, 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 no.
Okay, then but you should do this, Ken.
Okay,
So go into Safari on your phone.
going there now.
At the top, type in help.apple.com/iPhone.
Help.
And hit go in the lower right once you have it in. Help.apple.com/iPhone.
Apple, PPLE, not A, Ken.
And I encourage everybody, there's links you can hit at the bottom of the chat window. You can save all the links that were in there. Ken, are you there yet?
Yes, I am.
Does it look like my phone?
I don't see your phone. That's my problem.
Aren't you watching me on your computer?
Yes.
I see it fine.
I'm okay.
Ken, are there 3 iPhones across on your phone?
Yes, there is.
And it's 941 on those phones, right? Yeah. Well, the little bit of trivia on that, you guys, the reason it says 941 is that's when Steve Jobs introduced the phone, that's when they figured it would come out of his pocket. And so whenever you see an image of an iPhone, it's always going to say 941 because that's January 9th, 2007 when he pulled it out of his pocket on stage. So anyway, so at the very bottom, does anybody see the gray bar at the bottom of their phone? Who does not see the gray bar at the bottom of their phone?
Yep.
I
Good.
see it.
Anybody doesn't? I need to hear that doesn't.
I see
I
it
don't. Gray.
Gray bar at the bottom.
says more results.
After you say,
No, you Ken, you're not in the right spot.
No, I know it.
after,
You guys go ahead.
You haven't hit go. You need to hit go like I said earlier. You're trying to Google it, and you don't use Google, you use Safari. Okay. Everybody, okay, I assume everybody has the gray bar at the bottom. So
I don't have the great bar. I see the table of contents.
okay, so what you need to do, look at the screen. See how I don't have a gray bar? When I scroll down, the gray bar comes up. Did it work for you, Ray?
No.
Scroll down, and the gray
Yeah,
bar
I
comes
am.
up at the bottom. Yes, no?
No. When I get all the way to the bottom is gray,
No.
support iPhone.
No, that's scrolling up. Well, I'm sorry, you're moving your finger up. Move your finger down and watch what happens.
Okay.
Now, do you have a gray bar?
No.
okay.
Are you at the
Okay,
top,
I have-
Ray?
It's not gray,
What color is it?
just
Oh,
white.
okay, but do you have a bar at the bottom? I'm sorry, because yeah, I'm in dark mode.
Right.
Do you
Yes.
have a bar at the bottom?
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I see it.
So in the very
Yes,
center, there's a little box with an arrow coming out. Does everyone see it? Is there anyone that does not see the box with the arrow coming out?
The little send.
Does
icon.
anyone that doesn't see the box with the arrow coming out of it in the center? Anyone doesn't see it?
Okay.
Hello? Anybody? Okay, great. So tap the
All
box.
good.
What?
It's all good.
Tap the box with the arrow coming out of it. And you'll see a screen like I have here, okay?
Affirmative.
Yep.
Now, you slide up on that screen and you get some other choices. Okay? Everybody see
Yes.
these other choices. Anyone doesn't?
Got it.
Anyone does not? Okay? So you see it says add to home screen. Tap add to home screen. Does everyone see what they see on my phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone doesn't? Now, in the up above the done button, there's a back arrow. I want to get rid of that Apple support, so I'm just hitting the delete key back. It should just look like that. Okay, not a huge deal, but do that.
Good.
Everyone's here now. The last thing you're going to do is up in the upper right corner, tap add. And then when you go back to your home screen, you should have this little Apple logo at the bottom. Is there anyone that didn't get it besides Ken?
Oh, it's there. It's covered with ash.
I got two of them.
Well, that's okay. They're just bookmarks. So now just to get in there, you tap it and then it comes up and you can either search the user guide. I could say touch and hit search. And it's going to give me everything about Touch ID. I'll hit the X to get rid of that. I'll go back. But if I tap table of contents, I can go through the entire table of contents and it shows me what to do on the phone. And this gets updated when the iOS gets updated. So this is an interactive thing. You do have to be connected to the internet for this to work because it's an interactive website, basically.